Africa Change Movement. This is my very own woman collaborator. So, Adeshola, please, I would like to welcome you to the podium so you can introduce your panelists for today. The topic for discussion is mobilizing institutional investors for financing sustainable development in developing countries. Thank you. Please help me welcome Madam Adeshola Helen Unadipi. Thank you very much, Adeshola. So kindly introduce your panelists and then we can have a very good engagement. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Genevieve. By the way, Genevieve is one of the board members of my magazine, Ladies in Business Magazine, Global. She's the board member from Ghana chapter. My name is Adeshola Elena Nodipe, like she said, and I'm the founder of African Change Movement, and I'll be moderating for a wonderful session, and I'll be calling Barrister James Shinde, please, on the stage, please. Barrister James. Hello. Oh my God. Is he having lunch? Okay, I'll go straight to Our Excellency Dr. Edna Joy Santos. Are you here, ma'am? Please, a round of applause for her, please, as she comes up. Dr. Edna Joyce, she's the Vice President, West Asia for the World Economic Forum for Asia and Africa. You're welcome, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming. And next on the list, I have Dr. Pavani Kadiyala. Are you here? Please, a round of applause for her as she walks on the stage, please. Dr. Pavani, she's the president of Adaraba chapter, GBA, and advisor to the board of MCME Business Forum from India. You're welcome. Do we have Barrister James back here, please? Oh, okay. Thank you for coming. Barrister James is the CEO of Brevity Anderson. And next on the list, we're going to have Mr. Arif Traore. Please, a round of applause for him as he walks on the stage, please. Thank you. Mr. Arif is the Managing Director of Trustbridge Advisory DIFC Limited in Dubai. You're welcome. And last but not the least, I'm going to call upon Mr. Ishod Bijang. Please, on stage, please. A round of applause for him as he comes on stage, please. Mr. Biang is the board director of Project Limited. Welcome on board, sir. Okay, since I'm going to stand, or do I have a seat there? Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming on board with me, and it's my pleasure to have you all here. My first question will go to Barrister James, and I'm going to ask you, please, to explain to us, while Africa's natural gas reserve are vast in the countries like Algeria, we have pipelines, we have pipeline linked to Europe, exports remain low. What can Africa do to attract institutional investments to facilitate infrastructure development to meet Europeans' gas need?
Thank you very much for that question. I think Before I answer the question, I need to just point out that there's a lot of realignment happening on the global stage on a macroeconomic level. Um, we're hearing conversations around the expansion of the BRICS, and I think that has very far-reaching implications for the global economy and for resource-based, resource-rich countries like Nigeria, Angola, and other places in Africa. And it's important that Africa realigns itself, in a way that benefits Africa. I think this whole mentality of just going with certain countries because we have prehistoric, arrangements with them isn't favorable. So I think Africa has to think about realigning themselves in ways that benefits them. But in answer to your question specifically, I think there has been two key things. Okay, there's the lack of security and also the lack of legal frameworks to guarantee these investments. And I talk with relation to Nigeria in particular because Nigeria has shown good examples, shown leadership in the way things are being done right now. We now have the passage of the Petroleum Industry Act, which is a huge, huge step. Before now, there was no frameworks that guaranteed any kind of gas investment, in Nigeria. But now the PIA has sorted that out. I think the government is taking the right steps in the right direction. We have a national oil company that is doing the right things and it's being reformed from top to bottom. I think that is an example of how things should be done. And I think over the next few years, we'll see how these results, will be brought to the fore. So in summary, I'll just say the security situation has been sorted in many regards. I think also the regulatory frameworks have been sorted as well. And Nigeria is a leading example in this. And I don't speak for the government, but I'd like to invite all of you to invest in Nigeria. It's a promising country with huge resources, and I think in the next few years, Nigeria would actually be able to supply gas to Europe. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. If you can remember, the lady from Azerbaijan was trying to say the other time that how can they do business with Africa because they have some kind of reservation in terms of being scared if they can be scammed or not. Yeah, I just want you to give a bit lightening up to people from other countries like that, because she's talking from her own part regarding her own country. What about other people? Because I've gone through so many people asking me the same questions: that how are we sure, how are we safe that you can come to Nigeria without having any problems when it comes to investment?
Right. So I'll just say scams are a global phenomenon, okay, and it's not restricted to one country or geographical location. I see where you're coming from. My response to that is that if you come through the right channels, there's always opportunities. That there's chambers of commerce, for example, that operate in Nigeria that could give you the contacts you need. There is the Investment Promotion Council. You have an NNPC that is now really reformed in the right sense of the word, and with a good leadership there as well. So if you go through the right channels, there is good deals to be had, and I'd like to invite you to come. And finally, I'll just say this, that sometimes perceptions aren't always reality, and so you could have a perception that isn't real.
Yes.
I'm not necessarily saying that your experience is not real, but sometimes these things could be exaggerated. So that would be my response to that.
Yeah, thank you so much. That is very, very true. Perception sometimes is not real. All right, okay, I'm going to go to Her Excellency Dr. Edna Joy Santos. I'm going to ask you these questions. How can the relationship between indigenous government and foreign investors become more mutually beneficial? I don't know if there's something you can tell us about that.
Hello?
Yeah.
Can everybody hear me? Yeah, of course. I just wanted to wake up the room. Am I with the African diaspora? Because it's so quiet. I'm not used to being with Africans and everybody's quiet. Okay, anyway, let me start with some statistics. Her Excellency Ambassador Deshola knows this. But I wanted to tell everybody, which I hope everybody knows, that the whole African continent is about 30.36 square kilometers. Europe is around 10.18 kilometers. The United States of America is around 9.8 kilometers. And China is 9.6 kilometers. So Africa is a lot bigger than all of these continents combined, all these countries combined. And so you know that what you have to offer is more than what the half of the world needs. Okay, now, when it comes to the question, let me first start with, let us identify the reasons why Africa is attractive to investors. Do you know why? Because the continent has a young and vibrant population, and that it has significant economic potential. Everybody knows that. You in your countries know that. But how do you go about asking for investment from your people, from foreigners, from foreign investors? Think about it. Do not come in needing or wanting or requiring something. Show to them what you have. This is what we have. What can you do for us? Okay? Now, with regards to the question, I'm so sorry I diverted. Indigenous communities were stable and successful civilizations for thousands of years. Many now are still rebuilding and reestablishing their traditions and culture after impacts of colonization and residential schools. Generations of inherited knowledge is deeply rooted in indigenous cultures and languages. You have your own indigenous kingdoms in each of your countries. Many indigenous nations share a common philosophy of planning for the future generations by bringing forward teachings from the past. You should remember that once you entered the ballroom, you are not alone. You bring with you your country, you represent your ancestors. So you should be proud. You're proud to be an African, proud to be a Gambian, a Nigerian, because you bring your country with you. Okay?
Yes.
I'm Filipino, and I'm proud to be a Filipino, and I bring my country with you, and I'm proud to be helping Africans as well.
Absolutely.
Okay? Now, indigenous communities have indicated that change must start within the community. Governments need to move away from program-oriented approach and instead provide coordinated, streamlined support in response to a community's priorities. What is the priority of that kingdom? It might be different from the priority of another community. It's not always the priority of the whole country. So listen. Listen to what they have to say, and streamline your projects with them, streamline your funding with them. Okay? Because they have the sovereign land. You understand that very well. The sovereign land, they have it. They have the gold. They have whatever it is that needs to make your country rich and prosper. They have the oil, they have the coal, but they don't have the funding. So you should help each other. And the government should help them. Okay? Now, so, governments need to do community development and requires a long-term commitment from them. In order to move forward, this impact on indigenous communities must be acknowledged, and a true nation-to-nation partnership must be supported. Community development is a process for rebuilding and investing in effective and sustainable indigenous government and services, making it a fundamental aspect of nation building. The strategy supports community development through a holistic, strength-based, and community-led process, which holds at its core the principles of cultural diversity and respect for indigenous knowledge. The strategy is designed to guide governments in supporting indigenous peoples and communities according to their self-determined priorities, through which the government must commit through 4 pillars. What are these 4 pillars? Pillar number 1, support community-driven, nation-based planning initiatives and capacity building through dedicated multi-year funding for planning initiatives such as comprehensive community planning. Pillar number 2, support indigenous community-to-community learning by identifying funding to bring indigenous communities of practice together to share knowledge to each other, tools and development of resources that can be shared across communities such as handbooks and websites. Pillar number 3, build and strengthen collaboration and partnership within and across government departments to implement priorities identified by indigenous communities through developing integrated support teams and interdepartmental communities with strong community and partner participation. And pillar number 4, strengthen the government's awareness of cultural diversity. There is always cultural diversity, but there can be unity in diversity. And your children should be taught about the morals and ethical values from when they are small, not when they are big. From the family alone, teach them about morality and ethics.
Absolutely.
And they will bring it with them
Yes.
once they become the future leaders of the nation.
Yes.
Instill in them love for your country, love for Mama Africa.
Yes.
That's it. When they have it,
Thank you
then they
so
will,
much.
Africa will
It's a
prosper.
round of applause for Madam
Thank you.
Santos, please. Thank you so much.
Yeah, most welcome.
That was a wonderful, passionate answer, and I really, I can testify to the love that Our Excellency have towards Africa. Actually, she's also on board with me on Ladies in Business Magazine Global, and she's representing the Filipino chapter. She has so much passion and love for Africa, and
Yes.
sometimes I feel she's just like my mother. Thank you so much. Please, a round of applause for her once more, please.
Because Africa is the food basin of the world. We are all dependent on Africa. What happens to Africa is going to,
Absolutely.
involve the
Thank
world.
you so much, ma'am.
So
God
I think
bless
I was born in the wrong country.
And of course you have. You have, definitely. Thank you so much, Madam Edna. So quickly, I'm going to go to Mr. Arif Traore. Okay, yeah. And my question to you is, with over $100 trillion in assets in 2019 alone, institutional investors' potential represents a major source of long-term financing to support sustainable growth in developing countries. Now, the question is, what is your take on government venture capital scheme? Do you think it plays any significant role in foreign investment?
Thank you for that, Adishwa.
Yeah.
I think even before I answer that, unfortunately, I'm not going to be as passionate as my panelist here. I'm sorry for that, but I do want to add to your point. I think you have a very great point. Diversity is also a strength, and making sure that the indigenous community is always at the forefront of what we do in the future. And I think the UAE is a perfect model for that. They've managed to bring international people, international investors, expats coming from all over the world into one city. Despite that, they have not left their tradition, their customs, their past ancestors. They remind us of it every single day when you live here. And I think in Africa, we have this concept or this belief that to move forward, you need to leave the past behind. And it's not the case. You need to build on the past in order to move forward. And that's what we try to teach our children. So I definitely thank you very much for your argument earlier. But to your point specifically, the government venture capital program is, just as we discussed earlier, government programs are always positive. It's a very strong and very powerful tool to drive economy, especially to drive local economy activity. And we're talking about this, but just 2 years ago, there was a pandemic where for 2, 3 months, the folks in Dubai basically were stuck home. They don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. They were all in quarantine, not allowed to go out. Within 24 months thereafter, the venture capital community or market in the UAE has completely blossomed. Not even the UAE only. I'm talking about Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Oman. The whole Middle East has blossomed. Why? Because government venture capital program took place. So there is a positive to using government venture schemes to drive economy and to drive activity. However, in the long term, there is the theory that it would have a negative effect. And a negative effect could come from the fact that direct investments from the government into private businesses are going to lead to lack of competitiveness. Hence, international investors may feel threatened by going into a country where every single player is backed by the government. It would not be fair, it would not be a level playing field. But we've seen that other players in this part of the world have a sovereign wealth fund in this part of the world, the ADQ of this world, Mubadala of this world. They've strategically decided to retrench their investment and divert the investments away from direct businesses onto recently established venture capital programs in order to actually build and reinforce a venture capital community who would go and invest directly into private businesses. This approach is leading to increase in independence, increase in objectivity, and increase in competitiveness. So from the outside world, from the international and foreign investors, they can actually look into the market now and feel like the market is competitive, and then can decide to come back in and invest in the region. So in summary, I think there is a positivity to use government venture capital schemes to drive the economy and to drive activity. However, it needs to be carefully monitored as to when it does not become a negative impact and when you need to retrench yourself and make sure the private sector takes off.
Yeah, thank you. Though I don't know if you've been able to, I think you've answered this, the next question, which says that if yes, does it have a crowding in or crowding out effect on international private ventures capital investment across the border?
No, absolutely. I think in the short term, it crowds in, it brings investment, it brings investors, and it builds the market. In the long term, it can crowd out. So you need to know when to step back and let the private sector take off.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah. My next question will go to Dr. Pavani. Yeah, and my question will be: in many countries, there exist higher tax regimes for business referred to as foreign. Does that play in the benefit to the investee country, or can it be seen as restrictive, considering that there is an apparent loss in terms of employment generation, technology transfer, and etc. that may be gained by such investment? What do you think?
Yeah, I would like to thank first of all for I would like to thank first of all for the organizers for giving me this opportunity. And coming to the question, I would like to give some of the points where it's very important, like trade agreements. Most of the time, when we deal with the business in any country, first we need to go with the trade agreements, policies, which are very important to take the decisions to the next level of taking the opportunities or the grants, and as well as you mentioned, there are tax exemptions, all these areas. These are mainly depend upon the government which is ruling. In each country is having their own rules and responsibilities and the financial inclusions where they have to take care. That is the reason every time I say trade agreements and the business plannings, financial inclusions, and the capacity building. Capacity building also takes a major role when we are dealing with the business in a different countries with the various ideas and innovative thoughts. For example, I just want to give some live examples where we are talking about the previous questions, how we can give oil and gas where the African countries are having a huge potential but could not able to do the business. nowadays, as per my understandings, the hydrogen carbon renewable energy is growing a lot. So that the people can now start thinking where we are mainly getting the resources, the main resources which we need to utilize. I can say hydrocarbon renewable energy resource that we can capture from Africa because they are having a very good potential of oil and gas levels to take up. In those lines, the people can think and start doing the business and getting the things done. For the people who are investing from the other countries in these lines, like innovative ideas and thoughts, they can come up with the new policy change makings and the decisions towards the tax exemptions, all these areas. Definitely, there will be a huge potential to develop the country along with the developing countries to sustain in the market and go through. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A round of applause for her, please. Dr. Sorry, your name again? Boyer, yeah. The objective of this of this panel is emerging evidence of opportunities and challenges for institutional investors such as pension funds, insurance, sovereign wealth funds, which are significant players in the world economy. What do you think is best advisable internationally that we can do to constantly increase business investment in companies worldwide and from creditors also?
Okay, thank you very much. So I would like to answer to this question related to our company activities. I'm representing here Proje Limited. It is Turkish company. It is 47 years company. Provides architecture design and EPC plus F, international trading plus F. F means financing. And we actually active in completed projects in over 50 countries in terms of architecture design and construction. And currently we are active in more than 10 countries with over several tens of $billion projects. And for residential and non-residential projects, we, as a Proje Limited, we do everything as alone as a turnkey. Yeah. But for other infrastructure projects and industrial projects, we work as a consortium together with large companies from China, Japan, and Germany, Poland, French. So from China, we have a consortium with over 30 companies, from Japan also 10, from Germany 10. Anyway, there is actually big investment opportunities from global market. Investors are willing to invest, but of course, to attract this investment, to prepare, soft infrastructure and hard infrastructure is very important. In terms of soft infrastructure, of course, it is law and legal and political situation, everything. But in terms of hard infrastructure, of course, logistics and other physical, infrastructure. Mm-hmm. So these are actually, if we prepare, these legal, soft and hard infrastructure very well, then project risk will decrease down. Investors look for risk first, and secondly, again, they look for risk. Third, again, they look for risk. Fourth, they look for profit or not. So risk is very important. So to remove this risk, to prepare soft infrastructure, hard infrastructure is very important. And I totally agree that Africa is huge, country, one big country, if you compare with America, European Union, China, it's a big opportunity in terms of territory, in terms of climate, in terms of human age, working capital, everything. So huge opportunity is there, but the important is to combine them, structure them correct way, and then promote in the international market and create, trust is most important part. If can do this one successfully, there are trillions of dollars, investment is ready waiting for qualified projects. In terms of oil and gas, definitely this is big opportunity, especially existing, situation. There is a big shortage of, the gas, and a lot of countries are in the shortage of electricity, and only in Europe, almost 80,000 of companies are in different situation because of electricity.
Yeah.
So actually, I think that this is a great opportunity for African countries.
Yeah.
If can catch this opportunity. So again, using LNG and oil, it can be payment for investment. So as a project limited, we can structure financing EPC plus F. I mean against crude oil and LNG payment.
Yeah.
That's what we can do. Yeah. And thank you very much again. And I wish all African countries, all to you, very big success and goodness. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for him. Please, before we round up, I would just like to have one key factor from each and every one of us. The topic we're handling on this panel is mobilizing institutional investors for financing sustainable development in developing countries. Barrister James, can you just give me one key factor that you think will help with this mobilization of institutional investors for developing countries? Just one key factor.
So I think the panel already spoke to that eloquently, everybody on the panel, and it borders around Africa ceasing to see itself as a victim, because the world is really competitive and you have to go out there and be competitive. You need to attract foreign investment on the basis of returns you would give to investors. And this notion of being victims just doesn't wash. And then we talked about the security of investment, both the fiscal and also the legal frameworks that guarantee these investments. And I think once those things are in place, investments will generally flow. It's just that the natural consequence of getting the frameworks ready. And we all just spoke well to that already. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Her Excellency Santo Joseph, give us just one key factor more.
Yeah, okay. I would just like to tell everybody that the investors are there. We have investors that will be really willing to help you, giving you even non-recourse, non-repayment investment, and no interest, and no sovereign guarantee needed. Now, with regards to your gold, even there's no need to even extract the gold from the mines. There is now a technology wherein they could just see what's inside up to 30 meters deep of the mines, up to the carats of your gold. They could see that, and your assets remain on the ground. And they can be put into a platform or be monetized even. And your assets, you keep it. It's just there. So we have investors like this also. And I could help you with this one. I'm not kidding. But you have to give me a very good business plan. Okay, not just an executive summary, but a business plan. What do you expect? What kind of ROI can the investors expect? Even these investors, they don't need you to repay whatever investments they give you. Because some of these investments come from trading platforms that need sustainable projects to support the profits coming from their trading platforms. We have this also. Okay, but you have to give very good, sustainable projects, especially in healthcare. All of us know that Africa needs healthcare. We can give you mobile clinics because these clinics can go into the areas that cannot be reached by, by land. So just think about it, and help is there. Pray to God. Okay. Africa is a blessed country.
Of course, thank you so much. A round of applause for Madam Santos. Please, just one word. Give us one word that that is a key factor that you think it can help for the mobilization of investors to Africa. One key factor. Any idea?
Like in Africa, definitely I can say like the agriculture sector is also one of the main area that they can plan and move the things to the next level, using the supply chain technology as a transformation to take your products and mobilize your products to the entire world using the supply chain, as well as the e-commerce to get engaged more. Getting digital transformation is more important when we are branding your products, which are working out and coming out from your country. All the best.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Pavani. Please, a round of applause for her, please.
Sir, can I add to Dr. Only? I want to say that we have also off-takers for whatever products you have. Just send me whatever projects that you have, especially in agriculture. There's already a technology wherein your products or food could be increased by almost 30%. And then the length of time that they are fresh could even reach up to 20 days. Okay, there is already the technology also. So while it's in transport, it will reach here in Dubai and it will still be very fresh. Okay?
Yeah, next to you, Mr. Arif.
Thank you for
Can
adding.
you just give us your one key factor word?
I like to say, basically, on Africa to realize the Middle East understands the opportunity in Africa. We already see several institutional investors, sovereign wealth funds already deploying tremendous amount of capital toward the continent. However, the capital that we see being deployed right now seems to be deployed to the traditional industries such as banking, financial services, and sometimes pharma and pharmaceuticals. The reality is, it is up to us to make it easy for those sovereign wealth funds and those institutional investors to come and invest in more diversified markets, including food and beverages, manufacturing, logistics, you name it. Oil and gas and financial services are old and traditional industries, which will always be there, but you need to go further and deeper. There is a country in Africa everybody is aware of, and that's Rwanda. Rwanda is doing a tremendous good job in establishing economic free zones. This establishing economic free zone allows international investors to come in with the peace of mind that the rule of the law is going to be in their favor if they are right. Because right now, investing in a country where you don't trust the judicial system, you don't trust the law, you don't trust that tomorrow you will be protected or your rights will be protected, makes it even harder for anybody to invest. The economic free zone is a way to bypass that. The Middle East has done it, the UAE is doing it, Dubai is doing it very well. We don't need to wait for them to tell us how to do it. We could see in the rest of the world and we could just copy and replicate. That was just my 2 seconds.
Yeah, thank you so much. Mr. Thank you. Can you give us your one word that you think it's a key factor that will help to mobilize investors to Africa?
Yes, thank you. First of all, sustainable financing is important. I think sustainable financing is financing which contributes ESG, and if organize this contribution well, the financing opportunities very big in this area. And for example, from Japan, subsidy opportunities are available. From Europe also, IFI is also supporting these kind of factors. So this is very important, I think. And also for African countries, state guaranteed projects, sovereign guaranteed projects are quite optimistic for getting financing. And also, as I mentioned before, oil and gas can be used as a payment for investment. That's another option. And of course, fourth one is ECA financing, also possible, because I think Africa should develop not only with trading. It should be developed by manufacturing. Technology should be transferred to Africa, and there should be many of job place. So to create this one, equipment is very important, and these equipments should be transferred from highly developed countries such as Japan and then Germany and also other European countries. So for these kind of projects, ECA financing is very suitable. This is really opportunity and options of getting finance.
Thank you so much. And on that note, I'm going to add it also that we should spread the good news of Africa. We should let everyone knows about Africa. Sometimes some people still believe Africa is a country and Africa is a continent. And I was meeting someone here this afternoon, and the person was like, we should let people know the goodness of Africa, what we are made up of, what we do, how powerful we are, how good our resources and everything, rather than just spreading the bad news. So I'm going to say, let's continue to spread the good news, and that would definitely create a good image and perception to attract investors to Africa. On that note, I'm going to say thank you all for coming, and it's a great pleasure to moderate this panel session with you. Thank you so much. A round of applause for all the panels, please. Thank you.